awesome. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, say. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hello, how are you doing? It's me, Jesse Blaze Snider, the Coolest Geek Alive. And, you know, I thought I was moving on from my career this week for this show. I thought I was going to get back into talking about other things beyond my personal experience, but I didn't know what that was until just yesterday, and it hit me what I really needed to talk about. And that is the polarization of the fandom that I love. We have been split down the middle like a fillet of fish. And I use a metaphor like that because that's what it is. You know, right down the center of our chest, the heart of fandom has been split. And it's really gotten ugly. I left social media like 6 years ago because of how ugly it got. It was so ugly. It's still ugly to this day. I came back. I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at Coolest Geek JBS. But, oh my God, I go on to Twitter and it's a mess. It's just people lashing out at each other and arguing about this and that. And it's not even arguing. People just are going for the jugular. Sexist, racist, fascist, just all the ists. You know, people are out for blood. And like, it's just so disheartening because I chose geek culture as my pursuit of happiness because I believed that the lovers of fantasy and sci-fi and superheroes, that we were idealists who wanted the world to be a better place. And actually, let me correct myself. I still believe that. I believe that the people who are geeking out over myths, modern myths, like I do, I believe we are fundamentally good. And I'm so disappointed about the split. It's just, I literally, I've not known what to do. It's put me in a bit of a depression for many years now. I've felt so in the middle of it. I know half of the comic book producing industry, and I love them. I adore them all. I really just have nothing but nice things to say about these people. And I see many of them, good friends of mine, being a bit dark in their conversation with people online. The discourse that is out there is very ugly. Each side wants to tell you how that side started it and how that side is not playing the game nicely and therefore they're not playing the game nicely. But on each side are friends of mine. And like, you know, don't you comics gators get all mad at me that on this side of things I'm friends with people. You know, and don't you non-comics gator, super liberal, crazy people, and I'm sorry, you guys have gotten a little crazy. Don't you be getting all mad at me too. I had these friendships before you guys drew these lines in the sand. And there's a lot of people like me who are in this situation where I just feel like I'm in the middle of a battle and I can't pick sides. This isn't fair to me. This isn't fair to any of us. I've spoken to many people who feel the same way. You know, Ethan Van Sciver, and I'm going to try to name as few names as humanly possible today. I'll focus on two people, Mark Waid and Ethan Van Sciver. Both of these people have been encouraging to me as a young comic book writer. Mark Waid was the editor-in-chief at Boom Studios when I was writing my Disney and my Pixar projects for them. And he read my scripts and was very complimentary that, you know, I had what it takes. I had the goods. I was a good writer. That meant a lot to me. Ethan Van Sciver, he went, hey, you want to pitch me something? One of the big blunders of my career was, and I've told this story on the previous episodes talking about my career, but I pitched him something that was meant to be a Batman Year One, after he very specifically told me he wanted to do a modern day Batman story. But it was the best idea I had, and I thought maybe I could pretend like Batman hasn't learned anything about fire until right now. And it was just really stupid. It was like a stupid shoehorn. I was trying to get him with my bat, because it was a really strong pitch. It was just basically, it was Batman Year 1 or 2, learning about fire, establishing Dr. Phosphorus in a really cool way, establishing Firefly in a really cool way. It was a cool project if it could have been this Year 1 thing. Anyway, this is a little digression. But anyway, I was just a young buck coming up, and this big deal dude gave me a real shot at doing something big at DC. I blew it in that case. But I owe him for the encouragement that was. I owe Mark Waid for the encouragement of his words. Both of these people had never shown themselves to be anything but gentlemen. They may have different senses of humor, I would say. And I think that senses of humor don't really go over very good across social media. And you don't know when Mark Waid is being hyperbolic. And you don't know when Ethan Van Sciver is doing the same. And both of them have things that they're willing to joke about that the others aren't necessarily. And I can't choose between these men. I don't believe that any of them need to be strapped to a rock and lashed. They all deserve to live. They're very talented men. And there are others within whatever ilk, whatever side you're on, because I'm speaking to every side. I'm not speaking to you on the one side or you on the one side. I'm speaking to you all. And I'm trying to speak about this as balanced as possible. I know those two men. I've spent a decent amount of time with them, enough to feel them out. And neither one of them are bad men. They're coming at things from two different sides. And because I have maintained an open mind about this for a number of reasons, which I'll tell you about in a little while, because I really got put in a pickle. I couldn't just judge Comicsgate for whatever crazy things I was being told was happening at that time, because I ended up in I was trying to just stay out of it, because I'm not a partisan person. I don't always vote Democrat. I don't always vote Republican. I generally think independently, and I judge everything on its own individual merit. I think everybody should do that. Everybody should judge everything on its own individual merit. And when Hillary Clinton screws up 100 times, maybe we go, okay, can we get a different lady that people might not dislike so much because they haven't been proven to do a lot of kind of fugazi things, or Biden right now, where there's the same sort of thing going on. Like, can't we just get a better option? I think all of us liked Bernie Sanders a lot. I really liked him. I was ready to vote for him. I trust that he believes what he's saying. Can't we get some sort of wonderful person who thinks liberally in this wonderful, loving way that I love to think liberally as well, and has a good heart and follow through, and isn't going to just do whatever money and corporations tell them they must? Is there someone who will stand up for that goodness that we're hoping for? I'd love to see that. And can we not be so hard on the right, defending it when it's not going so well? And the same goes the other way. Why do we have to get so defensive about Donald Trump as opposed to, reason with us? I had somebody who reasoned with me very well, and they pointed out, very quickly, while Trump was in office, that he was the only president in my lifetime that hadn't gone to war. That's a really big deal for me. It's a really big deal. I don't want any more war. Is there anybody that I can pick who won't go to war? I'll pick a different person than Trump if he won't go to war. What sort of pickle have so many people been in all these politics? And they've got us fighting with one another and making us seem like we're bad. Nobody's bad. There's all these videos. There's just more and more of them that you can find online where there's people who are going to other Trump rallies, black people, and, people who think that it's going to be bad for them going to a Trump rally with a different opinion than everybody else. And everybody's cool. Everybody's nice to them. Look them up. We've gotten to the point where the liberal good guys, who I always thought were the good guys, are the people more likely to beat somebody up at a political rally. That's actually the reality right now. It doesn't seem that way because media like MSNBC or whatever is like pumping everybody up, hyping everybody up that there's like something going on. But there's a famous saying from ancient times, give them cake and circuses. You know what that means? Distract them. Give them something to do so they're not looking at all the things we're doing. And most of the real geeks like me, we read books. We know what they're doing. They're corrupt as hell. They're terrorizing the planet. We got to save the planet. Everybody is more on the same side than they realize. It's the language, it's the communication, it's the way we go about telling people our opinion that separates us. And it's not helpful when we're calling each other fascists. It's not helpful. It's not helpful at all when and if you hear something, I'm not going to go yell at him and tell him to be quiet. My son's in the background. Martin Luther King Jr. said that we would judge each other from the content of our character. Well, our content of our character online is not great. I think we could all use a course in Turn the Other Cheek. Mr. Jesus said that. There's a lot of other good quotes in other holy books about doing unto others as you would hope they would do unto you. I always like to try and see some scenario that has led somebody to being a jerk to me, to make it easier for me to forgive them for being a jerk, and make it easier for me to say, hey, look, I love you, and I don't know why you got a problem with me, but I don't have a problem with you. We're not very good at doing that. I said something on Twitter today about how I wish everybody would just expound the virtues of the thoughts that they have instead of fighting the other thoughts. It's like you're not a person because you oppose something. You're a person because you stand for something that you can define. And I think when you stop defining that thing, we lose track of what we're here for. What we're here for is standing up for different things. The media is not really very good anymore. Have you not noticed? I've noticed. I'm somebody who really cares about the quality of my entertainment. And, the new ideology-driven group of people that is running this ship, they've just lost the part where they're also supposed to make things that are good. They have to make good things. And they have to make things that make sense because an audience wants things to make sense. There are ways to do things. Like Game of Thrones just did a wonderful race swap, recently with the family. They have the long lost brothers who are, black or, light skinned black or whatever it is. They've got a great little story that goes into why this group of the family looks different than the rest of the family, as opposed to it just is like this, because it doesn't really make sense because we live in the world. And, geeks, we hang out with the foreign exchange students and we actually know what those people are like. And your Hollywood versions of all the freaking foreign exchange students or anybody else who might be here and Americanized or whatever else, it's usually not exactly as accurate as maybe you're thinking it is. It's usually some sort of one-note thing that barely scratches the surface of being a character. We love characters. But they have to have things that they want, unique things that they want. And they have to struggle. They have to struggle hard to get the things. The more they struggle, the more we will beg you to do ex machina, a happy ending for them, so we can, and I know I never pronounced that word right, so that we can be happy for them. We want to be happy for characters who we believe deserve to get good things. If Rey had struggled more in her journey into being the Last Jedi, and I don't know if she's the Last Jedi of the Skywalker, I don't know how you want to call her, but if Rey Palpatine, sorry, it's just such a funny joke, it's a funny thing. I wish she had been turned to the dark side. That would have been super cool. But if she had struggled more, the fans would have been down with it. We would have been down. Everybody's down with characters that have to work for what they get and characters that want things so much. I talk about the Muppets all the time. The Muppets, they want something so much. They're clearly very dedicated to a thing. Fozzie's dedicated to comedy. He's being ridiculed every night. He keeps going out on the stage. He's crying. He doesn't want to go, oh, Kermit, they're going to make fun of me. Jesus, these people really want it. That's why you love them. And, when the chips are down, they're good to their friends. They're good to their family. They love people. They're not selfish. I think people were rewarded for pledging a certain allegiance online for a long time over these past bunch of years. It hasn't been so rewarding for them in more recent years. I've been observing this whole thing, like I said, as somebody in the middle. I've been talking about for a bunch of weeks now my Kickstarter for King of Kings, actually months now. Let's be honest. I'm sorry. I've been pumping it. But I need your guys' help to get it done. And you have been helping. We've passed $5,000, which was our initial raise, and we've got some other really cool things that we're going to offer before this thing runs out. So if you want to help me build my publishing company from my fires and so many things that I've been dealing with over these past bunch of years, I'd appreciate it. And I appreciate all you people who already donated to the cause. My co-writer, co-creator, one of my best friends in comics is Mark Waid. Mark Waid, and I don't know all of these stories. I don't like drama. I mean, like maybe for like a moment, like what happened? Ooh, but then after that, like I try to forget it because I don't want to be a part of it. I don't like to be the person who's talking about everybody behind their back and, being a jerk. When people are jerks to me in the past, I have been a jerk back, and occasionally I still am a jerk back, and, I try to be better about it. But it's very satisfying to be a jerk back. Sometimes it's cool to at least be a jerk. I usually believe that it's like, all right to be a jerk back a little bit, but if you can get around to being nice, it's always the best thing. But it's really the best thing to just be able to turn the other cheek. It's just hard. It's just hard. And I understand. I mean, this is literally why I left social media, because I was just like, I don't want to fight with everybody. I don't want that to be my life. And for 6 years, I was gone, and crazy things happened. And I want to tell you, for me, what I saw from the inside, how all of this shit got started. Okay, and I'm really good friends with writer Paul Jenkins, who wrote one of my favorite comics of all time, The Sentry. The original miniseries is really awesome. Great premise and really well executed. Love you, Paul. Paul's also a great dude. I adore him. And he's always been so sweet to me and my ex-wife Patty. We're kind of similar people, and he's been just nothing but supportive of me my entire career, and I'm such a fan. His Inhumans was one of the other comics that really like got me into reading monthly comics and surprised me because it was so interesting. You know, if not for Paul Jenkins, I might not be reading comics, because like Inhumans and its quality was one of the things that surprised me. I loved the Inhumans that he wrote, this miniseries with Jay Lee on art. It's great. Actually, that's homework assignment for tonight. Go read the Inhumans by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee, and then go read their Sentry. They're both available in like graphic novel form. Oh, they're fucking great. Shout out to you, Paul. I love you, man. If anybody hears this podcast, tell him I said hey. I should reach out and tell him I say hey. Anyway, I remember Paul lamenting to me at a certain point at a convention or whatever that he was having a hard time, because I was saying, dude, you're so good. Are you having any more luck, like getting more things going? And he was saying that he was struggling a little bit because he was told by the high-ups, Joe Quesada, I believe at the time, that he needed to be more like Brian Michael Bendis, who was big on Twitter. I don't know if he did a blog too. He might have done a blog. Warren Ellis, who did a blog. They were people who were like little comic book darlings, and they were coming up, and it was good. Brian Michael Bendis was benefiting from the fact that he was on a streak, man. The quality of his work was so good for so long. Brian is still, a very talented dude, and he knows plenty of things, but his perspective, I think he might have lost his perspective a little bit on some of these things over time. Sometimes it happens with writers. I'm sorry, Brian, if this ever gets back to you. I'm not trying to diss you, brother. You're a great writer, and I haven't read a lot of things that you have done recently, so I'm not sure of anything. You've written some of the greatest things of all time, and I'm not dissing you, man. You are really, really great. But his work and the reception that he was getting from the market is right? So all of a sudden he starts getting flamed online. People like Warren Ellis, who had blogs, they were protected on the blog. The only people who went to their blog were the people who were super fans. They were used to having people worshiping at their altar. Oh, I love your work. You're so good at what you do. La, 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 la. And now they come over to Twitter, and it's like open season on everybody. And people start getting banned, and, accounts are getting banned, and everybody's doing that thing where they just like blanket ban anybody who says anything remotely negative about anything they do, which I really don't think is healthy. I mean, like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just have like a nice discourse between each other, a conversation where there was no name calling or anything? That always has happened at comic conventions, but online it's become very, and I really do believe it's the anonymous nature of it. It's the, not really being able to like get a feel for anybody's energy. Sweet people, you can tell they're sweet when you meet them. But online, a sweet person is somebody who you might be really mean to because you couldn't tell how sweet they were. And then they like explode like a volcano, because a lot of times sweet people are really evil when they get upset. Like, I can be really evil when I get upset, or at least I have been sometimes to my family. My mother used to call me Hitler. She denies it now. But not because I was racist. That's so funny. No, because I was like a drill sergeant. I would get very annoyed under certain circumstances because I have ADHD, and I would just like be like really snappy, and she would call me Hitler, and really hurt my feelings. Really hurt my feelings a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to move on from this part of the conversation. All right. So I will tell you that not playing social media right has absolutely affected me in my career as a voiceover actor, in my career as a host, in my career as a comic book writer, as my career as a musician. I don't like social media. It just feels like really unnatural. It's like such an unnatural thing in order to succeed at it. You got to put yourself on like a grid and be like posting at different times and like really milking the thing, or pumping money into it and treating it like it's a business. And it's just such a disingenuous thing for me to treat socializing online as a business in that way. It just always makes me feel really uncomfortable. Generally speaking, I've not known how to handle things. My new strategy on Twitter now is I just share fun things that I love, like clips of movies and clips of comedians or whatever it is that I really love. I just bring it onto Twitter because the conversation sucks so bad. That's what I do to try to, add to the party, the peeing on each other party, which is going on Twitter. But getting back to King of Kings, Mark Poulton, the co-creator and co-writer of King of Kings, who I've spent 12 years working with and have a book that I'm putting out right now on Kickstarter with, relatively quickly to when this whole Comicsgate thing started, he ended up in the Comicsgate wagon because a few of his very good friends went Comicsgate or whatever the hell it was. And I talked to him on the phone and he was just like, man, I'm sorry. Like, it's just like, these are some of my best friends. And like, I hope this doesn't affect our book or, make anybody whatever. Because, especially at the beginning, like, I'm here to tell you, Comicsgate is none of the things that anybody's. It's a bunch of geeks like all of us who just like felt sort of mad enough and fed up enough about how they were being treated by people who were ultimately always punching down on them, often when they had reasonable points and reasonable complaints. Not always. There's plenty of fucking awful people. I'm not defending any side. I'm defending both sides. I'm saying everybody needs to try to get along. We need to try to forgive, and we need to see that, like, the thing goes both ways. The seesaw rocks in both direction. In for a penny, in for a pound. You guys have been fighting back. The moment you're fighting back, I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, yo, sweetie, if he does something messed up to you, come to me immediately and he is in so much trouble. But if you beat him up a little bit before you come to me, I am so not sympathetic to you. So I'm so not sympathetic to any of you because you're all beating each other up. And the rest of us are just stuck in between going like, oh man, like when are they going to stop? Like when is this going to get better? I was at a Comic-Con recently and it was just like somebody had died to some degree. Everybody was just whispering and like everybody was just sort of like nobody knows what to say to anybody. Like, and it's like, we're not this polarized. We all worship at the altar of modern fantasy and science fiction myths. Most of us have played D&D campaigns as paladins and, ridiculous evil characters sometimes, for fun. But, we've all been dreaming of a brighter future by way of Superman or Batman or the Punisher, whoever it might be. But it's catharsis towards a brighter future. It's all violence, for most part, because all this stuff is just, the only way it's really entertaining is if the pictures are moving and, it's a dance. Art is always a dance. Here's this, look at this beautiful thing move in these ways that you can't see, that you've never seen before, I should say. But how funny is it, though, that people are shaming the Punisher because, he's shooting people and whatnot, but they're not shaming Superman for punching people in the face, okay? It's all bad. It's all violence. It is all catharsis for frustrations that people have with the people they're dealing with in the world, period. Comic books are helping us work out all those feelings that we have for vengeance so we don't actually take any vengeance. But it all comes from a place of us wanting to see a better world and believing that good is always rising to the surface. Good always wins. Good ideas are rising to the top. Progress is being made every day, and we can see it in the pages of Batman or Superman or Spider-Man. Look at the progress. Granted, it's the never-ending battle for a reason. And I think we are very much stuck in the never-ending battle of social media cussing at each other right now. And we have to be smarter than our comic book counterparts and end that never-ending battle and turn it into a never-ending conversation, which will evolve over time and continue to improve all of our lives and the world around us if we can just be calm and cool and treat each other with mutual respect. I really don't think that's too much to ask of everyone. This dance has been turned into a grudge match that isn't going anywhere. And I'm pleading to all of you out there to push back against this partisanness. And, when you see these people go after people online, try to call for peace, call for calming down. Let's get this shit over with, okay? Nobody's as bad as they be painted. And if enough people call for peace, the consensus seems to be peace, and peace will be upheld. Right now, enough people are calling for people's heads that it seems like peace isn't the thing. And everybody who wants peace is hiding. They're hiding so they don't lose their heads. Everybody's scared of a mob, man. It's really been the only thing I've ever been afraid of in my life. The idea that a group of reasonable people could go sour and go crazy, and who knows what might happen when tempers get high enough. It's a terrible thing, and it's happening online every day, especially on comics Twitter. So, please, from the bottom of my heart, let's get back to being able to live and let live a little bit more and have a conversation. We're the readers. We're supposed to be the smart people in the room. And if you're one of the outsiders looking in, that's totally cool too. We want you in here. We want you reading. We want you reading these comics. We want you reading these novels. You can do it too. I struggled with my eyes when I was a kid. My eyes would tear, and I was very overwhelmed by the idea of reading for years and years. And comics were one of the best things that ever happened to me to get me into reading. If you're listening to this and you've never actually picked up a book, seriously, get that Inhumans series and then get The Sentry. You'll be really surprised by the level of storytelling that is there. And there's so much more of that to go around in comics over many, many, many years of publishing. That's why I love this medium probably most of all. We are a colorblind fan base and a non-sexist fan base. We champion empowered women in comics. I know that people want to give people crap because we like looking at pretty bodies. But, okay, the price of us looking at the pretty body is you've been feeding us by virtue of a character like Vampirella or Red Sonja. We've been being fed a steady dose of women's lib. I love She-Hulk. She's one of my favorite characters. I love Cassandra Cain Batgirl, one of my favorite characters. They are some of the most badass characters in terms of capable of emasculating more characters than most. That's why I love them. That's why other people love them. We're not sexists. We're complaining. A lot of the people feel like they've been pulled into these insult conversations in the geek fandom. They feel like they've been called sexist or racist. And I've felt like I was being called a sexist or a racist before. Just quietly. Not that I said anything anywhere, because I tend to keep my opinions that I don't find useful to everyone to myself. Right now, all I'm pleading for is mercy for each other and let's be nice. I think that's a worthwhile opinion. But I don't really have mean-spirited opinions that I want to spread out in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to divide. I have thoughts about things, but all of my thoughts are rather nuanced, and I kind of even leave my determinations on things open until I have to make that determination based on all the information that I have, because one, I just don't want to go out into the world self-righteously, unable to absorb new information and new ideas as it comes to me. I kind of have this thought that the Matrix or God or however you want to define it is always talking to you. There's a great joke that I love to tell about the guy in the flood, and his house is flooded and he's standing on the roof and he's praying to God to come save him. And a little bit later, somebody comes by on a little rowboat and he goes, no, get out of here. I'm praying for God. God's going to save me. So the guy's like, okay, and he leaves. And then later, a bigger boat comes, an army boat, and they throw him a lifesaver, and he's like, no, God's going to save me. And they're like, all right, and they leave. And then finally a helicopter comes, and they throw down the ladder to him, and the water's up to his eyeballs, and he's like, God's going to save me. And they're like, okay, and then they leave, and the guy drowns. And he goes to heaven, and he bangs on the door and goes, God, what the hell? You made me look like a fool. I told everybody you were going to save me. And God says, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter to save you. You got to take the opportunity. You got to take the boats when they come. The best thing for our soul is to look at every hard time as a learning experience, and what can you learn from it, and how can you change things in the future, and how can you impart better information to the next generation because of the mistakes that you made. How can less suffering occur down the line because you suffered? That's my big one. If I have to suffer, I really want to take away the suffering for the next generation. I don't want a whole bunch of other people have to deal with anxiety and depression and things that I dealt with. Now that I'm aware that this is a thing that a lot of people are dealing with, I want to go talk to people. I want to help people in some way. And I don't know what way that I'm going to be able to do it, but I do it in small ways when I talk to people all the time who write me on the internet. If they say, oh, I struggle with the same thing, I try to encourage them. I try to do the things that I could have used at the time from the people around me if I was able to articulate it properly. I wasn't able to do that. So now me, as somebody who went through it and can see on the other side what it is that those people need, I do try to give that to the people that I can. And I do try to sing about that and write songs about it and give catharsis to those people who I can give catharsis to. I think the point is, we've got to be a hero to each other and not a villain. Even if they're coming at us like villains, we have to be heroic. We have to turn the other cheek. We have to be freaking cool. The coolest geeks alive. And I mean, really, my fans, the people who listen to this show, the people who love the Coolest Geek Alive, that's because they're the freaking cool people. You guys are the coolest geeks alive. We're out there. There's more of us than these other people, these people who are fighting about petty things. Don't be one of them. And don't cheer them on anymore. Call for peace. Be a hero. I mean, really, seriously, that's what it is. It's heroic to not let yourself be pulled into a fight. Because fighting's fun. That's why we play fight. Play fight with your siblings. It's fun. And on the internet, because you don't have to really feel the hits directly struck to you, it's kind of fun. But it's gotten way past fun. It's just gotten ugly, and we need to bring this ship in for a landing now. It's all about healing each other, helping each other get over our anger and our frustration, not playing into the anger and frustration, not creating Montagues and what is it called in Romeo and Juliet? The Montagues and the Romeo, the Capulets and the Montagues, fighting back and forth with each other forever. Dude, that doesn't help. That's not going to help. Haven't you read any of the history books? I mean, they've been rewritten, but that part is still there. Just one group against another group against another group. Everybody thinks they're right. Of course you think you're right. I think I'm right. But I'm wise enough to know that just because I think I'm right doesn't mean I have the right to be a jerk to other people. Doesn't mean that I should go through the world self-righteously. Doesn't mean that I should keep my ears closed to all of the good information that might be just around the corner. And it doesn't mean I should sour myself and my expectations of what I'm going to get from everybody around me. I think I generally have great interactions with people all the time. Not just because I avoid getting into silly, useless confrontations, but I expect to get the best out of people. And most of the time I do. Most of the time I do. And it's my attitude. And I see the attitude in a space like Twitter. Everybody's expecting the worst from everybody. And then they get it. When you expect the worst, you get the worst. But I expect better. I expect better from all you guys. That's why I'm willing to have this conversation. I know some of you are out there getting very upset in defense of Comicsgate or in defense of the people who have been really pushing a little bit of an agenda on the other side of things. I understand. I like people on both sides of the room. I'm really bummed out about this. I love me some Mark Waid. I love me some Ethan Van Sciver. I don't want to not be able to read Cyberfrog. I want to read Cyberfrog. I really like Ethan Van Sciver's art. And I'm in comics to read comics that look pretty. And he makes pretty comics. So it's hard for me to go, no, just there, right there as a fan. Also, I'm not listening to the things that are being said. I don't know what he's saying. I'm not trying to be upset every day. I am upset every day anyway by all of you guys perpetually, just it's everywhere. It's all I follow on Twitter are comics people. And it seems like the fighting just never ends, man. It never ends. And I want it to end. I want it to end. We're dealing with this simple situation where, a lot of the fandom felt insulted after being called racists and sexists, and the gloves came off, and now they've gone dark. And we can't feed the darkness in the people who have gone dark. And then there's people on the other side who have gone dark. You know, it's like both sides are just going way too dark, guys. The people who write and draw Superman should not be behaving this way. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like pull moral rank on us all, but like, we're the good guys. Aren't we? Aren't we the good guys? I thought we were the good guys. My buddy Mark Polton, he's one of the sweetest dudes I know. He's done nothing that you would think of as a Comicsgate thing. He's a good, upstanding husband, father, professional. He's never been anything but cool to me. Never had any trouble with him. And we've spent a lot of time together. I would call him probably the most innocent writer I know in the business. And he's someone I've spent a lot of time with and done a lot of business with. And I had a really good friend of mine, great artist, Scarecrow Oven. I had work that was offered to me through Mark Polton, and I wanted to see if Scarecrow Oven wanted to do it with me. And I was like, hey man, I got offered this thing. I don't know if you want to do it though. It's kind of loosely Comicsgate associated. And he went at me so hard and like broke our relationship on the spot. And I mean, like, all this is like, because I didn't know like how crazy people had gotten about these things. And I was just, you know, I was really innocent. I tried to tell him. I knew that people were getting upset. And I was like, but I had a friend of mine who was in the thing, you know, and like, I'm not gonna, dude, Mark Polton, dude, you'll always be my friend, man. It's like, I don't care what you are, you know, like it's like I might try to talk you out of it if I thought that it was really something evil, but I don't think it is anything evil. I've seen you and the people, and I know people who are in there, and they're just freaking geeks like us. They are, and it's just like this stupid thing, we're like the two groups formed, and I mean, and the groups are so freaking loose. It's just so loosely based. There's just only so many people going around, you know, hashtagging things and trying to make it like it's some divisive thing. It's really not. And because it's really not so evil and dark as everybody thinks, Comicsgate hasn't had as much people shunning them, and there's been a lot of success coming their way of these things. And the more liberal side of things have been very kind of crazed about how they've been getting success. People like Eric July. You know, Eric July has... You know, he's just been recognizing the same things I'm recognizing. What I'm telling you guys right now, it's not this. We've been tricked, man. We've been bamboozled that it's some polarized, crazy field with all these sexist and no. There's people who appreciate their material and they want to see it brought to life a certain way. There's people who are not good at their communication, who make jokes in poor taste, or make jokes you can't understand through the internet, or just say whatever the hell they want to say at any time of day because they're freaking crazy like that. But that does not mean that the world is inherently evil. And everybody is just going on this assumption of just whether it's evilness or self-righteousness, hubris, whatever it might be. I really wish everybody would just put down their guns and come back to the table like we're all people who worship at the altar of wonderful artists who create stories that give us catharsis and help us feel empathy. That's why I read. I read so I don't feel so alone. I read to encourage myself. So I can know that I can do it too. So I can put an idea in my head that I'm a juggernaut to inspire myself. Why do you read? Aren't we all doing it for the same thing? Catharsis? That feeling of togetherness? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. This whole situation really made me feel frozen. And after the thing with Scarecrow Oven, I just quit social media. I was just like, what am I going to do here? Comicsgate would demonize somebody like Mark Waid, and the opposite side would demonize somebody like Ethan Van Sciver. And again, I'm sorry, Mark, and I'm sorry, Ethan, for making you guys my subject of my conversation here. I love you both. As far as I'm concerned, you guys are just pillars of the industry. I look up to you. I appreciate you, and thank you. Thank you for your contributions to the industry. And I hope that you live long lives where you continue to contribute to the medium that I love. because I love the work that you do, gentlemen. They're good men, everybody. Both of them. This is all very sad. It's just sad. And honestly, it's all nonsense. We should all be able to rise above it. And I believe that we will. And it's just a matter of time. And I think cooler heads will prevail. I think that we'll come back together. But if you want to see us come back together, share this around. Because I don't know how many people are having conversations about this like this. And these are the ways that these conversations need to be had, with heart and soul and love and understanding. When I saw She-Hulk on Disney Plus and I watched the episodes, it was such a course in reverse sexism. And it has nothing to do with the She-Hulk comic books, which I love. I love Jennifer Walters. I love She-Hulk. I felt personally insulted by the time the series wrapped up about the message that this movie seemed to have towards its audience. People like me who love that character. TV show, I mean. And I literally was... the only reason why I haven't done it is because they're super expensive. I was going to buy the Dan Slott omnibuses of all his work and the John Byrne omnibuses, which I'd never read. And I was going to do a whole episode dedicated to all the great ideas that are in those books that they could have used in that show and didn't, in lieu of that travesty. Everybody is getting triggered by the way the fans are being treated at different times. Everybody is comic skate for a minute under the current politics of the day, with the exception of the loudest voices in the room who are dictating some of these extreme terms. We need to put down our weapons and come back together. And people like me who don't want to choose sides should not be forced to. That's some Gestapo shit. That's some freaking Crusades bullshit. You know, my King of Kings series is all to give you an up yours to your fucking Gestapo freaking Crusades bullshit. The Norse religion comes back to take revenge on Catholicism for force-feeding Jesus down a whole bunch of Norwegian people's throats. Is that the proper term for the Norse-believing people or whatever? And what these modern internet mobs don't see is that they get different groups of people with their mob every time. When you talk about a vein of sexism in Little Mermaid, audience, it's not the same people as the vein of sexism in the Black Widow movie comments or whatever it is, or Captain Marvel. It's a different group each time. Some are the same, but I think you get my point. In general, the audience is changing all the time with every fandom. And some people just don't give a shit. You know, when it's Voltron, I didn't care for years and years until I did one of those panels and I had to study up on Voltron. Then I became a little bit of a Voltron fan. And now when Voltron news is announced, I go, oh, cool, Voltron. But if you're not a fan, if it's not your thing, who gives a shit? You don't care. It's a different group of people every time. And I mean, it's a different group of prosecutors. It's a different group of defenders. It's whoever is happening to be there at the time who has been polarized in one way or the other. And who has the passion for the current subject matter, which again, if it's Thundercats, I don't give a shit. Under some circumstances, I'm going to be triggered along with some of these people. And some of them will be triggered in support, and some will be triggered against it. And it's just stupid fights that are happening on the internet. It doesn't really mean anything except all of the meaning that we've given to it. And we need to stop giving these sides, these factions, power, and just remember that the middle is the strongest. And honestly, they can't even fight without us allowing it. So shut them down. Don't support this anymore. Tell everybody to grow the fuck up. Seriously, we all need to grow the fuck up. The comic book industry needs to grow the fuck up. You know, my father, he's a rock star musician, Dee Snider, former lead singer of Twisted Sister, and he's gotten himself in the middle of a lot of this conversation. And I said something to him the other day because I love him so much, and I believe that the message in his words, in his lyrics, the lyrics of Twisted Sister and other musical projects that he's had are important. They're important for every person on planet Earth to hear. I believe that his words are the medicine that a lot of people on this planet need to hear to be better to each other. And I said to my dad, I said, wouldn't it be a shame to think that there was some sort of racist out there who didn't hear your words, didn't get the benefit of your magical message in their ear because you went on your Twitter and said something that was polarizing and prevented you from ever reaching that person as a listener of your music ever again? Wouldn't that be a shame that the magic of D. Snider's words can't work their magic on the people in the population who need it most because you had to go onto Twitter and be self-righteous in one direction or another? And wouldn't it be a shame if the people who need to learn the moral lessons of Superman weren't able to do that because they were run out of the comic industry because they were suspected of being a racist or a sexist or an ist in whatever way? Do we not want the magic of these superheroes to work upon these people who you think are morally corrupt? Do you really think that it's the smartest thing for society to run the morally corrupt away from the things that might help them morally? I don't. I think that's pretty darn stupid on our part. If we're the self-righteous heroes we think we are, I think it's time to get our heads out of our frickin' asses and invite everyone under the sun to read the Gospel of Superman. It will only do everyone good. It's about making the world a better place. More good, less evil. More heroes, less villains. It's pretty simple, guys. You're just preaching to the converted. If you want to continue to have an effect on the general populace, you have to stop attacking people on the internet for having different opinions than you. You can share your opinion, but you need to realize that every time you do, you're affecting the way people are listening and reading, experiencing your art. It affects the entertainment experience, not for the better. Never for the better. Okay? I promise you, never for the better. It's not in your best interest to give every little opinion you have when you are an artist. It is in your best interest to be kind to everybody and let your art speak for itself. This is Jesse Blaze Snider, the coolest geek alive. If you want to write me an email, I'm at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. Join me every Wednesday and every Saturday morning for a new episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.
Hey! It's my song! Let's sing it! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Come on! It's gonna be fucking awesome! You know the words! It's gonna be fucking awesome! That's it! Sing! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Yeah! Hey! 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 It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after week. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. I'm a genius. I got lyrics coming out me bum for days. You gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living the shit. My voice gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go.
It's going to be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see. You'll all see.